Hey, I am Miles Stokes, and along with J. Rachel Edidin, I am one of the co-hosts of Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, a weekly podcast where we walk you through the ins, outs, and retcons of comics' greatest superhero soap opera. I, also along with Jay, am one of the co-hosts of Jay and Miles Review the X-Men, which you're watching right now, where we talk about the X-books that come out each week. Now, it is just me this time, although we are in our familiar locale of Portland, Oregon's own Books with Pictures. I think it's maybe because I had plans last time, and Jay was all alone, and so now this is some sort of vengeance, or revengeance in the Metal Gear parlance. So it's just going to be me telling you about our sole X book for the week of May 25th, 2016. Let's do exactly that. Okay, our single book this week is Extraordinary X-Men number 10, written by Jeff Lemire, with pencils by Humberto Ramos, inks by Victor Olazaba, and colors by Edgar Delgado. This is once again in the Apocalypse Wars storyline, the Extraordinary X-Men version of it, where they're in the future, which is all apocalypsy in some somewhat undefined fashion. And it's okay. Okay, so you remember last time that issue where it was just the kids? It was, like Anil and No Girl and Glob Herman and the other one who I can't think of right now. But anyway, it was them, and it was great. And they were exploring this strange new world, and it was really cool. This time, our main X-Men are back, and that should be awesome. That should be them coming in to meet up with the kids, and now everyone's kicking ass together, going up against Apocalypse's new horseman, trying to redeem their friend Colossus, who's become a horseman over the last year of weird time here. And it's just sort of business as usual. I mean, we do get some cool stuff. Storm has been sort of depressed throughout the entire series so far, She's down because Xavier's dream has kind of gone to hell with the new hating and fearing and all of that in humanity. And I kind of buy that. Like, Storm, she's certainly passionate, and that passion can go in dark directions sometimes, so okay. What I really like about the way that's handled, though, is the person who pulls her out of it, and that's Bobby. That's Iceman, and this is a role Iceman should be in. He's had his own doubts, certainly around the whole coming out thing. He's been going through a lot of internal struggles and challenges, but the fact is Bobby's the one that really believes in the X-Men. I know one of Jay's favorite lines from an old issue of Uncanny before they renumbered for the first time after it got to number 500 something, was him telling Scott, remember, we were the Beatles, we were the originals, I'm paraphrasing. But he's the one that believes in the X-Men in a way almost more than anybody like Cyclops or Storm does. So seeing that aspect of his personality come forward, really dug it. One thing I also did dig was Magic once again tutoring Sapna. Now, Sapna is the girl that she rescued early on in the series, who's got ill-defined language, demon, magic stuff powers. And this is a plot line that's been just sort of about to do something cool for a long time, and that's kind of where we are now. I love the concept. I love the idea of Lyanna trying to raise somebody who has her own dark magic connections in a way that, so that the girl won't turn out the way she does, but it just feels like it's not explored as much as I would like. I want more connection to Magic's past. I want more connection to the relationships Magic has had with her own mentors. And maybe it's because this is a book that's not designed to, reach back to like the 1980s in terms of continuity, but there's just not very much of that. And I think that's a problem Extraordinary X-Men has often had since it started, which is that it just doesn't really go deep enough. It's just thing happens. And those are cool things, but without the emotional ties to those characters, I don't know that I necessarily buy it all. Art-wise, we once again have Humberto Ramos, and I like Ramos. He's falling into some things I've seen Chris Bachalo do, like in the early 2000s, though, which is that there's the anatomy and backgrounds are so exaggerated that in certain types of framing, especially when it's a big thing interacting with a small thing, like, Cerebra, the giant sentinel, interacting with somebody else in a fight, it can be kind of hard to tell what's going on. So everything's very dynamic and very interesting, but can also be very confusing. And that comes and goes. I think this issue is a little bit less strong than the sort of median has been for Ramos so far in the series. Not a deal breaker by any means, but something I wish worked a little better. So what happens in this issue? Well, not a whole lot, really. There's a lot of fighting. There is some cool, charming character bits with the kids who were in this strange world for a year interacting with the people who came to rescue them. I do like that Glob Herman has a crush on Jean. That would be a really fascinating romance. I know it will never happen, but it would be kind of great. So basically, it's a bridge that gets us between the excellent last issue and whatever comes next, which I'm guessing will be pretty climactic, especially since the X-Men are about to confront the Horsemen and see what's really going on with Apocalypse in this future. So I'm interested. I'm engaged. This issue as a whole was not as strong as I wish it had been. Okay, so we just have the one book, so I guess that's our best of the week by default. As for panels, I kept going back and forth, and what I ended up with some assistance from Katie back there who runs the store, is the series right here. So I believe it was Ann Nesenti who said that John Bogdanove, who drew Power Pack for a long time, among other titles, drew the best hugs in comics. And this right here, I'm not going to say it's a competitor, but I am going to say it's a pretty great one. Right after Illyana gives her old New Mutants costume to Sapna, which, okay, so there is one thing that ties back to the old days. But what comes after it is what really works for me, because we have this wonderful, happy pair of faces together, and then it zooms in on Illyana so that Sapna's out of frame, and we see that lack of confidence, we see that concern, we see that blankness, that's perhaps soullessness, if that's the direction they're going with it. And so going from warm to, oh, that's a really effective move right there. So well done, Humberto Ramos. That is it for this week. Thanks for watching. If you like these reviews, you should also check out our podcast, which is the main thing we do. That is Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men. You can find that on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and at explainthexmen.com. Now, this week we have an episode I'm really excited about coming out. It's about Excalibur's entry into Inferno and also a fight they have with Arcade. So Arcade I was never super into as a villain in general. He fits Excalibur perfectly. This is hilarious, wonderful, heartfelt, creepy stuff. So yes, check it out. So that podcast, these reviews, many of the things that are near and dear to my heart are all made possible by our amazing Patreon subscribers. If you'd like to become one of those people and help us do what we do and keep it ad-free, you can go and check out the link at the top of explainthexmen.com. In the meantime, I will see you next week, as I suspect will Jay, as we talk about whatever comes next. Whatever comes next? That was really awkward. I feel like I'm better at this when Jay's around. Jay!